Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Good evening, Joel.
A very good evening, Bernadine, and a very good evening to all our viewers. Well, I'm Joel Outschool. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Subject accepts the resignation of the Board of Directors of Sri Lanka Airlines. Former chairman of COPE reveals what took place following the first COPE report on the bond scam. Financial incentives for police officers to arrest open warrant holders and seize illegal firearms. Open warrant issued to arrest former Sri Lankan ambassador to US, Jalya Wickramasurya.
The government has accepted the resignation of all but one of the Sri Lankan Airlines Board of Directors. Mr. Kabir Hashim notes that a new board is to be appointed in due course.
Recently, Ajit Dias, the chairman of the Sri Lankan Airlines, and directors of the board, namely Chanaka De Silva, Rajan Brito, Niranjan Joseph De Silva, Deva Aditya, Mahinda Haradas, and CEO Rakita Jayawardena, offered to resign to facilitate the appointment of a new board of directors for restructuring. However, one member of the board of directors did not sign the offer letter. The committee, chaired by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to look into the restructuring of Sri Lankan Airlines, had considered the resignation offer on Wednesday.
The ministerial committee met at the Prime Minister's office on Wednesday and met with the chairman and board of directors of Sri Lankan Airlines. The Prime Minister accepted the resignation and decided to appoint a new board of directors in the coming days. The restructuring process is being carried out by a team led by Dr. Samaratunga and hopes to continue the process with the new board of directors. The government aims to continue with the restructuring of the airline. We have no intention of closing it down.
The issue at Sri Lankan Airlines began when a profit-earning company became a loss-making company, not in millions but in billions of rupees. Now, the previous government decided to order 8 A350-900 aircrafts. This is the aircraft that you see here behind me. It's called the XWB because it has an extra wide body. Now, when this government came into power, they decided that it was not suitable for the country, these 8 aircraft in question, and they decided to cancel it. When you place an order to buy an aircraft, it is not an easy thing to do. You have to place this order, and this order goes into a document, or to put it in simple terms, it goes into a booking. You basically have to pre-book your order. Now, if this is the timeline that we are talking about in terms of this booking, and if various companies come forward and place their bookings in this manner, there will be several companies ordering the same aircraft, and if this is 2018 and this is where we want this aircraft as Sri Lankan Airlines, there will be companies placing their orders in the future dates as well. They will do so because if they do not book whatever available slot they have in their hands, they will lose this opportunity as well. So, for example, if a company wants an aircraft in 2018, they might have to book a date maybe in 2022, and they will book it because they know that if they do not allocate that slot for themselves, for their company, they will lose the opportunity to buy that aircraft. Now, when Sri Lankan Airlines decided, or when the government of Sri Lanka decided that they are going to cancel the order, they could have negotiated with a company who had the pre-booking at a later date and come to a negotiation agreement to say that we are selling this slot that we have here, the slot that we had allocated for 2018. This could have they could have come to a situation where they could have monetized the situation and earned some money. Now, they will still have to pay the cancellation fee to the mother company of the aircrafts, the company that is manufacturing the aircraft. But we could have found out, earned some money from this system, because this is what is done world over. When the previous government decided to make this payment, make this allocation, make this booking, they did not reach any exit clauses in their negotiation, in their agreement that they reached. This resulted in a situation where we had to pay massive amounts. Now, what is this amount that we are talking about? We are talking of an amount close to 28 billion Sri Lankan rupees. That is all or more than double the amount that we lost from the central bank bond scam that we are receiving reports now. Now, what did this government do when it came to power? They obviously cancelled. They said, no, this was not suitable for our country. So they decided to cancel these 8 aircraft coming into the country. But did they think of a situation where they could have gone to another company who had a future date and discussed with them and said, look, we are selling our slot available for us in 2018. Why don't you choose that opportunity? Why don't you use it and make some money for yourselves? You can bring your aircraft at an earlier date. No, that was not done. So through the incompetence of the former government, the officials who are responsible, and the present government, the country, the people of this country, we have lost close to 28 billion Sri Lankan rupees. Now, when we talk about the Sri Lankan Airlines, another thing that very quickly comes to our mind is the central bank bond scam. Now, we think that it has come to an end, but has it really come to an end? Now, the Prime Minister's office had issued this media release today. Let's have a look.
A statement from the Prime Minister's office notes that Prime Minister Wickremesinghe had instructed Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy to call for a meeting with the Monetary Board as soon as the Bond Commission report is made public and initiate action on the recommendations. The Central Bank Governor says the bank is in the process of selecting a suitable local or foreign agent to conduct a forensic audit as recommended by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. The Presidential Commission recommends there should be an investigation into the irregularities that had taken place between 2008 and 2015, and a discussion took place to ascertain if central bank records for that period were safe. The statement goes on to note that a committee comprising of Central Bank Governor Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, Treasury Secretary Dr. R.H. Samarathunga and Secretary to the Ministry of Law and Order Padmasri Jayamanna have been vested with the task of taking necessary action.
There is nothing to claim the governor of the central bank was involved in this. He had given the instructions in the presence of 2 other deputy governors. The allegation the governor intervened in the tender process is a baseless one. On the 27th of February, I appointed a 3-member committee to inquire into the 30-year bond issue. How else am I to look into this? This cannot be referred to the Monetary Board. I need to be satisfied with this first. Prime Minister, are you satisfied now?
Now, the suspension of Perpetual Treasuries Limited's business and activities as a primary dealer has been extended by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka.
In a communique, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, acting in terms of the regulations made under the Registered Stocks and Securities Ordinance and the Local Treasury Bill Ordinance, has decided to extend the suspension of Perpetual Treasuries Limited from carrying on business and activities of a primary dealer for a period of 6 months. The extension came in effect from 4:30 p.m. today in order to continue the investigations being conducted by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The suspension issued last year on PTL was to come to an end tomorrow.
With everything happening with regard to the central bank bond scam, fingers are pointed at various individuals. Now, the politicians have a funny way of coming before the media and expressing themselves, but certain journalists raised questions from Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government Faisal Mustafa yesterday. If you missed that, let me bring that report to you once again. Here's a look.
You are from the SLFP. Are you prepared to function in cabinet with a Prime Minister of this nature?
The President commented on the report and its background. It appears there is no allegation against the Prime Minister.
If you appoint someone, you are bound to that responsibility. So why isn't the Prime Minister bound to do that same responsibility?
It is true an appointment was made. It's about the Prime Minister and the process. Take a look at the cricket team. A captain is appointed, right? So when a match is lost, appointments are made at random. We are in a consensual government.
Now, journalists raised similar questions to Susil Premjayant, the minister representing the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Did he have the same answers to the same questions that were raised? Here's a look.
The joint opposition calls for the immediate resignation of the Prime Minister. What is the stance of the SLFP?
Are you afraid?
There's nothing for me to fear. My personal view is that this has been overly discussed in the social platform. In other countries, things happen differently. Such a thing has never happened in the history of this country. We cannot be certain if it will be the same in the future.
Minister Faisal Mustafa, please take single stand on behalf of the people of this country.
The central bank was under the purview of the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister recommended Arjuna Mahendran be appointed as the central bank governor, the President opposed it. This has been mentioned on a number of occasions. The President has reiterated the appointment was made based on the request of Ranil Wickremesinghe. The people have a right to know about what Ranil Wickremesinghe had to say regarding the Bond Commission's recommendations. The members of the UNP have a duty to ask the Prime Minister about it.
Former chairman of COPE, DEW Gunasekara, convened a media briefing today. Now, he had this to say about the oaths taken by the former governor of the central bank, Mr. Arjuna Mahendran.
Most of the people are not aware of the steps that were taken to prevent this process. Only one press conference was held after I stepped down and the parliament was dissolved. At that time, Sujiva Senasinghe, who was with me in COPE, got an interim order issued preventing me from speaking about my report. When the Prime Minister was presenting the COPE report in Parliament, Sunil Handunnetti and I watched that statement on television. After that only, I convened a press conference because I knew once this report was submitted to the Attorney General's Department, it would be forgotten. If the Commission was given some judicial authority from the Constitution, then Ravi Karunanika and others would have been imprisoned already. Now we have to go through this again. It will take at least another year for this case to be taken up before court. Take a look at the newspapers after Parliament was dissolved and read the speeches delivered by Ravi Karunanika, Sujiva Senasinghe and Ranil Wickremesinghe. All these were done to protect Arjuna Mahendran. They said the problem was related to the procedure of the issuance of bonds. Arjuna Mahendran said Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe instructed him to follow that procedure and he acted accordingly. He said this before me. He swore before making this statement. I told him he should swear on the Bible. I have never said that before at COPE. I did that as Arjuna Mahendran was the only public sector official in our country to not have taken an oath.
When there is a victory, when there is a positive outcome of anything, there are a lot of people who line up to get the credit of what has happened, to get the credit or the ownership of that victory or that positive outcome. Keeping this in mind, the joint opposition today convened a media briefing and this is what they had to say.
The biggest fraud was revealed. We lodged a complaint with the Bribery Commission. Our MPs raided the central bank. Following a conflict, 2 of our MPs were hospitalized. The police intervened. We went to the President's doorstep and requested not to reappoint Arjuna Mahendran. This is another joke for this year. He says that they worked very hard to reveal this. They say 2 MPs were injured in their struggle. When this was revealed through media, especially through the Sirius network, I was with the President in England attending the Commonwealth Conference. At that time, President called his secretary and said that he will be appointing a committee immediately. When he was about to announce his decision, the Prime Minister stepped in and appointed a 3-member committee. It was this committee that was asked to find solutions. If the rogues of the Pohot tour look at themselves in the mirror, they will see they are labelled as thieves. How can they deceive the public? We'd like to tell you that the flower bud will wilt on the 11th of February.
As I told you before, everyone is talking about the losses of the bond scam and the Bond Commission report that came out recently. Now, there was a public rally organized in the Kiribati area by the JVP yesterday, and leader of the JVP, parliamentarian Anura Kumar Disanayaka, had this to say.
A bond issuance means the central bank takes a loan from Perpetual. They issue a receipt when they take a loan. This receipt goes to the son-in-law. Later, the father-in-law buys back that paper from him. The profit for 153 days is 11.2 billion. That means the profit they earned for one day is 72 million. If you take into consideration all the ships from Paliagoda to Nitambua, their daily income won't come up to 72 million. You don't feel the extent of these steps. That is because the public has never seen such large sums of money. 10 million means 10,000 notes of 1,000 rupees. So a million is equivalent to around 20 bricks made of 1,000 rupee notes. 11 billion means 22,000 bricks of 1,000 rupees. A brick kiln will have a maximum of 5,000 bricks. So this is similar to 5 kilns. Now every time you see a brick kiln, you will remember Arjun Aloysius and Ranil Wickramasinghe.
This is the brick that Anukumar Disanayake is speaking about. If you pile up cash, the amount look like this brick. Even though I have not seen that much of cash in my life, Anukumar Disanayake says that the value will be about 22,000 bricks. So you don't need an expert to come from Singapore, you don't need an expert from the central bank, or you do not need an economist to come forward and say, look, this is what we can do with 22,000 bricks. If you ask a simple mason who probably is working right now around your house where you're watching us from, that person will be able to tell you this is the amount of or this is the amount of buildings that we can put up with 22,000 bricks like this. So if the cash that was lost, if the money that was lost can build buildings, if you can stack up that money and say this is the building that we can build with this much of money, then we have to actually stop, pause for a moment, think to ourselves as to what we have done by electing these people and what we will be doing in the upcoming election. A good example would be, you can hold a brick like this in your hand. This would actually suggest that you are going to build something. But when it comes to the elections that are upcoming, February 10th is a decisive day for the government and the opposition. The people of this country will also be able to hold a brick like this. So when you are at the polling station, when you are about to cast that vote, please remember that this brick, 22,000 of these bricks, is the amount of money that we lost as a result of the bond scam.
If a child is wearing dirty clothes, the mother would tell him to wash up and wear clean clothes. We will not allow a child to wear dirty clothes. No one likes to be unclean. Whenever our clothes become dirty, we change them. However, the country has been draped in a dirty cloth for the past 70 years. This dirty cloth reeks of fraud, corruption, smuggling, racketeering and so on. What we have to say is we have to remove this cloth that the country is draped in.
Election-related news. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piri says former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has not obtained membership of the party. He confirmed this to Newsfirst this evening.
Has Mahinda Rajapaksa obtained membership of your party, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna?
Mahinda Rajapaksa has not obtained membership of the party.
A majority of MPs in the joint opposition were not in favour of forming the Podujana Peramuna. A majority did not speak with the banner of the Podujana Peramuna placed as the backdrop. Some looked away. So only a minority of MPs were in favour of that. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is not a political party. One reason is because it does not have a leadership or a Balamandala. It does not even have a central working committee or even a district committee. There is no organised structure in the electorates as well. The person who owns the party is not even the leader of the party. Vimal Geekanage handed over the party. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has not obtained membership of that party.
With the local government elections just over a month away, the National Elections Commission and the Sri Lanka Police convened a media briefing today.
If a person is arrested for a wrongdoing, please do not go to the police as groups and cause chaos. You may only send an attorney for a discussion. Do not attempt to influence the law enforcement officers using your titles. A request has been made from all political parties to declare their assets. The National Elections Commission has decided the 20th of January will be the deadline to submit asset declarations. Candidates who do not comply will have their hoardings and placards removed from their residences and offices.
කිරීමට සිදු වෙනවා ඇත මාර්තු 1 වෙනිදා දක්වා
All police stations must install roadblocks as much as possible until the 1st of March. Spot checks must be carried out to inspect all suspicious vehicles. The IGP will award cash prizes to police officers who arrest people with outstanding warrants. An officer will be awarded a cash prize from the police fund ranging from 1,500 rupees to 5,000 rupees per arrest made. If a suspect is arrested along with a T-56 firearm, he will be awarded 100,000 rupees. If a suspect is arrested with a pistol or revolver, the arresting officer will be awarded 50,000 rupees. If a suspect is arrested with a hand grenade, the arresting officer is awarded 15,000 rupees. If a suspect is arrested along with a homemade firearm, the arresting officer will be awarded 10,000 rupees. 65 suspects have been arrested for violating election laws. Among them are 4 candidates.
And in news from the President's Diary this evening, now Japanese Foreign Minister Taro says Japan will fully support Sri Lanka in its journey towards development and reconciliation.
Japanese Foreign Minister Taro, who is in the country for an official visit, called on President Maithripala Sirisena today at the Presidential Secretariat. This is incidentally the first time in 15 years a Japanese Foreign Minister is in the country. A statement from the President's office said Kano praised the two countries' already good trade relationship and added a special delegation will arrive in Sri Lanka later in the month to explore further business and investment possibilities. The visiting Foreign Minister also called on Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
Colombo Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne today issued an open warrant for the arrest of former Sri Lankan ambassador to the United States Jali Wickremesinghe, who has been absconding court.
Former Ambassador Jali Wickremesinghe was ordered to appear in court over the alleged misappropriation of $132,000 of state funds when purchasing a building for the Sri Lankan embassy in the United States of America. Wickremesinghe was earlier arrested by the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division and remanded. However, he was released on bail to travel to the US for 2 months to seek medical treatment under the condition he appears before court in a period of 2 months. However, he had failed to appear in court on the given date. Taking the matter into account, the magistrate issued the open warrant against the former ambassador. 4 people, including the suspect's wife, who came forward as guarantors for the bail application, failed to appear in court today. Notices were served on them to appear in court on the 16th of February.
Now, the second phase of the Gumba, the Gumming Gummata Vaving Vavata program, aimed at reigniting the splendor of Sri Lanka's ancient hydraulic civilization, will begin tomorrow. On the 17th of December, this initiative was launched at the Bellankadavala Ellangava or Vava system located in the Palugasbava Divisional Secretariat in the Anuradhapura district with the aim of conserving the magnificent irrigation system. This project has been carried out by Newsfirst, the University of Peradeniya and irrigation experts. The Ellanga system comprises of 21 Vavas and a series of waterways. During the first stage, Newsfirst studied 8 Vavas in the system, namely Bellankadavala, Vidani Vava, Palakola, Galkadavala Vava, Demunu Vava, Tindukuluma Vava, Kayan Vava and Patya Vava. With the experiences gained in Phase 1, a discussion took place on implementing Phase 2 of this initiative. The meeting was held with the experts who provide assistance for the study, representatives of agrarian organizations in the respective areas and members of Newsfirst. Tomorrow, Phase 2 of the study of the Bellankadavala Ellangala system will commence and the team plans on conducting a study on 13 Vavas.
A 4-member delegation of the all-party parliamentary group for Sri Lanka in the UK House of Commons is currently in Sri Lanka.
The delegation is led by the MP Ranil Jayawardena, chairman of the all-party parliamentary group of Sri Lanka, and includes MPs Michelle Donnellan, Chris Green and John Lamont. The delegation met with President Maithripala Sirisena last evening. The delegation also called on Foreign Minister Tilak Marapana and other high-ranking members of the government and the opposition to engage in discussions regarding Sri Lanka-UK bilateral relations. The delegation is also scheduled to meet officials of the Board of Investment and the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce to explore new opportunities to further enhance bilateral bilateral trade and investment. MP Ranil Jayabodhana and his group will also travel to Jaffna, Kandy and Galle and will meet with the government officials and community members in the respective districts.
13 financiers accused of funneling more than $15.3 million to the LTTE will stand trial before the Swiss Federal Criminal Court on Monday.
According to Swiss media, the accused are from Switzerland, Germany and Sri Lanka. Some are former members of the World Tamil Coordinating Committee, which allegedly represented the LTTE in Switzerland until 2009 and include its founder, his deputy and the person in charge of finances. Swiss media states between 1999 and 2009, they allegedly created a complex fundraising structure which involved coaxing members of the Tamil diaspora to obtain loans from banks. To raise higher amounts, the WTCC was accused of creating fictitious companies in the name of borrowers that issued fake salary certificates. The 13 on trial face charges of fraud, false documentation, money laundering and extortion. As the LTTE was never declared a terrorist organization in Switzerland, they will not face charges of funding a terror group. It is reported the Swiss funds were transported in cash by couriers to Singapore and Dubai, eventually reaching the LTTE in Sri Lanka, who allegedly used the money to purchase arms.
Here's a look at today's illustrated news courtesy of cartoonist Sasanka Ladra Head Team.
Well, before we wrap the news, stay tuned for Best First Review 360. Former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. W.A.B. Jayabodhana, discusses the highlights of the Central Bank's roadmap for 2018.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Singha.
And I'm Joel Outskun. Thank you very much for stopping by. More news follows on our website, www.newsfirst.lk. Good night.
Good night.